Hello, pup parents, and welcome to today's episode of the Perfect Pup Podcast. Today, we're going to get a little bit real. We are going to talk about dog parent guilt, why it happens, what it means, and what we can do to overcome these feelings when they do arise. So, let's get right into it. Before we talk about guilt, we need to have a real definition of what it means and not just a you feel bad, but from a more clinical perspective. Guilt is defined as self conscious emotion that involves negative evaluations of the self, feelings of distress, and feelings of failure. That last part in particular, feelings of failure, I think a lot of times as pup parents, we have this aspirational goal of what we want to do or how we want to provide or how we want to raise our dogs. And in our own minds, we often fall short. And that brings up feelings of guilt. So, the first thing we need to realize or think about is that the guilt that can come with raising a dog, it's totally normal. It happens to almost everybody. Go into any community forum online and you'll see plenty of conversations about this. And I think it's important for us to discuss it more frequently that you're not alone. If you're feeling like you messed up with your dog, or you might even feel guilty for having a regret about getting a dog or getting a puppy. Those things are normal, they happen. So I want to talk about some of the main reasons we feel guilty and kind of what we can do to overcome them. I asked different team members on the Pupford team. I searched through different forums. I went into our private Facebook community, which you should join if you haven't already. It's under 30 Day Perfect Pup. And I found a lot of common themes. And I wanted to kind of lay out some of these. And I'm sure you'll think, wow, I've had that happened to me a lot. The number one reason for feeling guilt as a pup parent was probably leaving your dog at home. And we're going to talk more about that in depth. Other ones were, for example, using methods that you just didn't know were wrong. Like, for example, using the crate as punishment or using a choke chain when you just didn't know any better. Other ones can be falling behind on grooming. You're not getting your dog groomed enough, or their nails are getting too long. Some people talked about feeling regret or guilt when they have a bored dog, when their dog's looking at them seeming sad, or seems like they're wanting to do something. Sometimes we feel guilt when our dogs are in pain and we just feel helpless and we don't know what, if anything, we can do to help them. Other people discussed the feeling of guilt when they have a baby and now their dog isn't getting as much attention. And of course, leaving our dogs and going on vacation and them not being able to come with us. These are just some of the reasons that people feel guilty. We feel guilty as pup parents. And I want to dive in particular to a few of the more common ones, but I also want to give another kind of explanation about guilt and how it affects us as humans. When we talk about guilt, again, a more clinical psychological standpoint, I found an interesting definition, and it says this: remedies for unnecessary guilt may include reflecting on factors that were beyond your control, acknowledging what you know now that you didn't in the past, and considering whether your standards for yourself are too unforgiving. I want to pause there for a second and again just kind of dive back into, sometimes we put too high of expectations on ourselves. I do think that some of this is exacerbated by what we see on social media, right? I'm not using it as a scapegoat. I'm just facing a reality here that you go into social media, you go on an Instagram or TikTok, and you see all these people with seemingly perfect dogs. And you think to yourself, why can't my dog do that? Why am I not doing that for my dog? Why am I not taking my dog on trips or, going to the store with them? Or why can't they do X, Y, and Z or whatever it might be? And it's just a trap. That feeling of like other people, the comparison often leads us to feeling guilty about who we are, what we're doing as pup parents. And I want to say this too. I'm not a mental health professional, but I do encourage you, if you feel like you're really struggling with the puppy blues or the pup parent guilt or anything mental health related, it's very advantageous to get the help of a professional. It can seem kind of weird to think my dog is causing me a need to have therapy, but let's be real, dogs are hard. Dogs are really challenging, especially in those early puppy stages. So don't be afraid to, get professional help if needed. I want to say too, just human to human here for a second. It's okay to feel overwhelmed by our dogs. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to even have feelings of, should I have ever gotten a dog or a puppy? It's okay to wonder, am I going to be able to handle this? Am I going to have to give my dog up or rehome them? Those things happen. And I want to tell you that it's okay. It's okay to feel those things, but let's talk now about some things we can do as pup parents to overcome those feelings of guilt and just have a better outlook on our dogs and their behavior. The one that happens to me, I work from home and I swear at least once a day I'll look over and my dog Scout is just staring at me with these eyes like, when are you going to stand up, move away from your desk and come play with me? And it's really tempting to like feel bad and think, oh, I should be doing more with her. But I have to remind myself, and it's important to remember that our dogs can self regulate and they are able to understand how to have downtime. I know as puppies that can be a little bit more challenging, but as dogs grow and as dogs mature, they will learn that, self regulation, sleeping, napping, and just learning how to chill is a part of their routine. Other things you can do if you're feeling guilty about your dog being bored is, of course, make sure they're getting enough exercise, but add things like enrichment, puzzle toys, frozen Kongs, a snuffle mat. Like those little things can go a long way. It's not going to solve it completely, but it can help you know that you're giving your dog more mental enrichment and reducing that boredom. And if it's financially viable for you, so many people swear by doggy daycare, even if it's just once a week or once every other week, being able to, have something that your dog can look forward to. They're going to love going there, playing with other dogs, getting so much exercise and just having a lot of fun. Another one that I brought up earlier is using methods that you find are harmful. So for example, using the crate as punishment and maybe you just didn't know that was bad, or using things like prong collars or getting upset at your dog and maybe just not realizing in the moment that those weren't the right things to do. I think it's important in those instances, and I did an entire episode about how I felt like I almost ruined my relationship with my dog Scout because of some methods that we used originally that we just didn't know any better. And I think in those situations it's good to give yourself some compassion and some empathy and know that you're learning too. Just like your dog is learning how to be a dog and how to behave in society, you're learning how to be a pup parent. So give yourself some empathy, give yourself some compassion and learn and improve and move on and start focusing on techniques that are going to work and are going to be positive for your dog. Another one that I see a lot and that you hear a lot about is people feel guilty about putting their dog in a crate. We've talked about crate training before, the pros and the cons. And while it can be done incorrectly and cause harm, in the majority of cases, crates can become a safe haven for our dogs. The founder of Pupford, his name's Mike, he talks a lot about how his dog Doris just loves going in her crate now. It used to be, crate training took time, but now if there's, thunder or too many people and she's overwhelmed, Doris will go into her crate and just self-soothe and have it becomes a calming place. So know that if you're following the correct techniques for crate training, it can be a very positive experience. And I left this one for last because it's probably the main one. You get ready to walk out the door and your dog knows you're leaving and they get so sad or seemingly sad and they don't want you to leave and you start feeling guilty and start thinking, oh, do I really need to go for so long? The first thing we need to talk about there is that definition of guilt about not meeting expectations of that we have for ourselves. You have to ask yourself, is it realistic to not leave your dog? The answer is no. And quick side note, I'm going to separate this from separation anxiety in dogs because that's an entirely different topic, but I'm going to focus on dogs that don't have separation anxiety and are technically okay with being at home. It's not realistic to never leave our dogs. Like, we are individuals, we have lives, we have things we have to do, we have jobs, we have hobbies, we have family, we have friends, we have to take care of ourselves. Those are things that we have to do, and it's important that we teach ourselves and teach our dogs that it's okay for them to be alone. Of course, don't overdo it and don't put your dog in a situation where they are not having their needs met, but dogs are okay being left alone. Like, most of the time they're just going to figure it out and they're going to learn to sleep. But here's some points to remember if you're walking out the door feeling guilty for leaving your dog. First off, self-care, giving yourself time away from your dog is so important, especially when you have a puppy and it seems like they're just constantly taking up your time and they need training and they're biting things and they're going potty and it's potty breaks every 45 minutes and X, Y, and Z thing. It can be overwhelming. And so it's important to remember that you, as the individual, as the pup parent, by giving yourself some time away from your dog and doing some self-care, whatever that looks like for you, it's going to make you a better pup parent. It'll probably improve your ability to train your dog, be more patient with them, be more empathetic for their situation. So know that it's okay. Another point that we've kind of hit on is that dogs, they really thrive under structure and routine. And over time, your dog will learn that being alone, being left alone, wherever that be, whether it's in a crate or in a home or playpen, that is part of their routine. And they will learn that to expect that and to understand it. And it can be challenging in the beginning, but know that it will get better. Another thing you can do to reduce your guilt when you leave your dog is over time, try as much as you can to make it as positive of an experience as possible. When my dogs were puppies, it was hard to leave them and they, would whine and there'd be some barking and it was clear they didn't want us to leave. But now my dogs are older, my dogs are 5. And now when I'm getting ready to leave, my dog Sunny will go sit her dog bed near the door where we leave it when we leave, and she'll just sit there and stare at me like literally wanting the snack that she knows she's going to get. Like it becomes a more positive experience because there's been that conditioning to say, hey, every time we leave, you're going to get a Kong, a bully stick, something that's going to keep you engaged and you're going to like. So with time and with repetition, your dogs can learn to honestly like when you leave, even though they might miss you and they'll lay by the door or seem sad, but you can make it as positive as possible. Another thing you can do is get a dog camera. If that's going to help you feel less guilty, just being able to check in on your dog every so often and know, hey, look, they are fine. They are safe. They aren't, going crazy. They're just laying there, probably sleeping. It's good. It can be beneficial for you. Another fun thing, an idea that I saw online is, and my wife's really good at this as well, is finding time to have doggy dates. And I know that can seem so weird. Like, I can't believe I'm saying those words out loud, a date with your dog. If you'd have told that to the 5 year ago version of me, I probably would have laughed. But it's so true that, we get into this routine and we have our schedule and it's like, okay, we're going to do a walk in the morning, maybe walk in the afternoon, we're going to feed, all these different things. But trying to find time, even if it's once a week, once every other week, to do a different adventure with your dog that's just, one-on-one time and really about them. It can be going on a really long walk. It could be, going on a hike. It could be taking them to go swimming or another activity that they really enjoy. It could be just letting them blaze the path in front of you and not telling them which way to go on the walk. Like there's a lot of different things that you can do that are simple, but can make you, recognize that, hey, I'm putting the time and effort into my dog. I'm trying to give them the best opportunities in life possible. And it's okay that on a normal basis, they're just getting the normal walks and nothing too crazy. Dog parent guilt, it's a real thing. And it's something that we often struggle with as pup parents. And I think above all, it's important to remember that our dogs are very, very good at loving unconditionally. And my experience personally, anecdotal evidence has been that dogs are very forgiving and they just want us to be happy. Like I really truly believe that. I believe that our dogs know when we are putting in effort and they are aware of it and they recognize it. And the other thing to remind yourself, and I know that this isn't it's hard to hear this when you're in the thick of the challenges, but it does get better. I remember in the puppy phase feeling so overwhelmed and feeling like I'm failing. I'm not doing good enough. My dog is making so many mistakes. I'm making so many mistakes. This is a nightmare. And fast forward to my dogs now being adults and the bond and connection you can grow and share with your dog is it's not like anything else. I won't say it's the greatest connection in the world because I think human to human connection is very powerful, but the dog to human connection can become so strong and you can really forge a love with your dog. And it's so, so powerful. Last year, our senior dog, Buddy, passed away. And one of the things I've been able to kind of internalize and figure out as I've coped with his death is that those moments that were frustrating, the things where I felt guilt, like leaving him alone, or, when he acted up and I maybe got upset, I look back on those and they're just like small blips. I don't even really think about them. What I do think about and I do cherish is the bond and love and the joy that Buddy brought into our home. So if nothing else, know that as you learn and grow and mature and spend more time with your dog and your dog matures and grows, you can create such a strong bond that the moments of guilt will still pop up, but as much as possible, you can remind yourself you're doing a great job, you are trying your best, and that is what is important. Our dogs, they have needs and they should be met, but when we're doing that, give yourself some empathy, give yourself compassion, and know that you are doing a good job. I hope you found this episode helpful. I hope that it could provide you some relief or hope. And if it was helpful for you and you know other pup parents who might be struggling with this dog parent guilt, please forward them this episode, however you're watching, in whatever way you want to forward it to them. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It's really helpful for the algorithms and whatever to pick up the podcast and more people find it. But other than that, we will catch you on the next episode.